Honorable Vice President of Bharat, Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan ji, active, enthusiastic and not accidental but experimentative editor of the Organiser, Shri Prafulla Ketkar ji, Dr. Anil Agarwal ji and Shri Arun Goyal ji, and all eminent, prominent personalities who are in the hall here and present to witness this momentous occasion of the celebration of the Organiser, the 80 years of its service to nation. At the outset, I congratulate the Organiser, its editor, Shri Prafulla ji, the publishers, and the team of Organiser for this great and memorable function. And on this occasion, which in fact is a red letter day in the onward march of Organiser, I remember my college days when every week I used to carry the Organiser in my hands to Central College in Bangalore. When I say I was carrying it in my hands, not that I was not reading. Those were the days, the early 70s, 72, 1972, 73, 74, the JP movement, the emergency days. So on those days, during that period, activists like me were generally reading 3 English periodicals, at least in Bangalore as I know. One was the Blitz. And our communist friends, they used to carry Blitz in their hands in the college campuses. And in the canteen, we were arguing. So a few friends of ours, we thought that we will also carry Organiser in our hands. So the second one was Organiser. And one more was Everyman's Week. Many of you may be remembering, and the new generation may not be remembering. That was JP Movement's Day, and Everyone's Weekly was, I think, Chariji and others may be remembering those periodicals. So they were giving us the information, the enough weapon for argument. And if somebody comes with some argument after reading Blitz, we were ready with our Organiser's articles. And I was reading Blitz in the hostel rooms at nights, because we should know what the others are going to speak. They also might have been doing it same thing the other way. So those were the days when we were discussing ideological thoughts, national policies, and socialism, communism, capitalism, nationalism, and all these things. They formulated our ideas, our arguments, our personalities. So this is how I was introduced to Organiser in those days. Being a Swayamsevak, of course, it was very much popular in our circles. But on the university campuses, the persons who are working for an ideology, naturally, they should be fed with enough material to put forth the ideas, to counter the arguments, to press a point, to develop our own thoughts and ideas. And Organiser shaped or helped shape our thoughts and our ideas. So this is why I should be ever grateful to Organiser. So I didn't know that one day I will also be appearing in Organiser. But those were the days when we were learning so many things, and Organiser was a distant but very affectionate teacher. Organiser has created a legacy of a high order, at least in the English media. Organiser is not just a weekly newspaper. As just now we were watching the documentary, and editor, my dear friend Praful, was speaking about Organiser, how it started and all. Organiser is a movement, a thought movement, a part of the nationalist movement. How it started and who all played a role, it has been explained, I need not repeat. Organiser stands for certain principles, certain ethics in media. Organiser projects the nationalist thoughts and views. Organiser has been a fierce crusader of freedom of press. Malkaniji and Organiser, they are equated, and the personality of Malkaniji is so much imprinted on the Organiser, and his life journey and the journey of Organiser cannot be separated. And Malkaniji was not only a thought leader of our country, but a crusader for certain principles, ethics in public life, and particularly the freedom of press. He was kept behind the bars on that infamous midnight of June 25th, 26th. And his book is also titled as Midnight Knock. I think most of us must have read it. Organiser has been a voice of our nation's culture, the voice of this land, a torchbearer of the dharmic values which are relevant even today. Organiser has an illustrious line of writers. Malkaniji was its editor, and Chariji in the previous session he referred to V.P. Bhatiaji. Deen Dayalji's name was just now mentioned. Deen Dayalji's famous column, Political Diary, which has also come in the form of a book, was a regular reader for all the people who were reading English all over the country for the ideological thoughts and commentary on the nation's current affairs. Advaniji was sub-editor, and for a short period when Malkaniji went to Harvard University on a fellowship, I think in 1960s, early 60s, 62, 63, 64, Advaniji ran the paper as the editor of Organiser. Most of us know that Advaniji was writing about films. He was a film critic of the Organiser. And he was watching films, and his daughter Pratibhaji has also produced films. And M.E. Kamat's Narada Speaks, Jay Dubashi's column on economy and strategic issues, Sudhakar Raje's Satiricus, V.P. Bhatia's Kings in Cabbage, and contributors like H.V. Sheshadriji, T.V.R. Shanai, S. Gurumurtiji, many of them. And all these people have enriched Organiser. And Organiser has produced many writers, columnists, journalists, reporters throughout the country. Many of the people who have become journalists in many mainstream and renowned newspapers started their career in Organiser. Ram Madhavji is here. He was contributing to Organiser. Nowadays, I was asking Prafulji what happened. Ram Madhavji was having a room in Organiser as a director. Malkaniji, I remember he ran many campaigns, ideological campaigns through Organiser. He raised very important sensational issues which were really discussed, and many people wanted to know about them. So, for example, the mysterious death of Shama Prasad Mukherjee, mysterious death of Lal Bahadur Shastri ji in Tashkent, the mysterious end of Deen Dayal ji at Mughal Sarai station. These sensational issues which were very important in our national life, they were pursued by Malkani ji week after week. And he saw to that the commissions are appointed or they are discussed in other newspapers. Of course, in those days, media, the TV debates, evening debates were not there. But Malkani ji made it a point that these important issues will not go unheard. And the eminent persons like Jayaprakash Narayan and Lal Bahadur Shastri, they gave interviews to Organiser. You were just watching the documentary and it was mentioned there. Just before the Pakistan's aggression in 1965, Lal Bahadur Shastri ji had given an interview to the Organiser about the issue of the threat of Pak. And JP in his interview, it was the famous words of JP, Jayaprakash Narayan, that if RSS is a fascist, I am a fascist. I think that appeared in that interview where the Organiser published that very famous interview of JP. Strategic and national security issues like Chinese aggression, Pakistan's misadventures, Bangladeshi infiltration, all such issues, not only the Organiser published them as news items, they were pursued, they were researched. On the ground reporters, they sent many unknown facts. And this is how Organiser educated the public about these very important security issues. Continuously they were pursued. It was not some one-time news item here and there, or some sensational matter. So if somebody researches on these subjects, the Organiser issues will definitely provide them enough material, which are the voices from the ground. During emergency, the Organiser suffered the most, I should say, and its sister concern, Motherland, was closed and it did not see the light again. Malkani ji was sent to prison. Organiser, I think, is the most quoted English periodical in the parliament, if I am right. Because what Organiser writes is the voice of a major nationalist view of this country. This is known in political, media, and administrative circles, and even in the international, even the ambassadors who are sitting in Chanakyapuri, they were also trying to know what the Organiser says in order to understand the other viewpoint. This is how the Organiser has become a part of the thought movement of this country. In the pre-digital era, the Organiser, as part of the print media, played such an important and significant role. And now it continues to do so in the present times with modern technology, online editions, and many other things which already have been mentioned. Organiser has carved a niche in our public life, in our democratic traditions, and particularly in the media world. The role of journalism in the modern times is not just to inform the people, spread some news, but it is to educate, form the opinions, and, if necessary, play the role of the public voice in various fora. That's why, as we all know, it is rightly mentioned as the fourth estate of democracy. Journalism in the modern days, for obvious reasons, might have become a business. The media houses are like corporate houses, the business. I have no objection to that, but because the demands of the times are different. I can understand if you have to run a media house with a quality production, you will have to have the professionalism there. Unprofessionalism in the informal way, we know how many a time it will be very costly and damaging. Sangh is a family. And in the organization things, family things can work. But when you run institutions, the professionalism naturally is the order of the day, and one has to accept and follow those things. But as far as media is concerned, it should not be only a profit-making business. It has some different role. It can't run under loss. If it has to sustain, it has to be on the business model. But it has to be only business, make money or spend money earned somewhere. So then that newspaper is not doing the role which is expected to from that to be played. So it is not easy to run a paper with only idealism and ideology. That is the present day reality. But Organiser, in last 80 years, it accepted this difficult path. We can run a news weekly with idealism and ideology without enough financial resources. The only capital is commitment. And in an age when 24/7 news channels are working, bombarding, for a weekly newspaper to be alive, to be relevant, is an uphill task, is a challenging job. That is why I congratulate the present Organiser team and also the previous editors who are present here for keeping the flame of Organiser blazing. Because if there is something extra, if there is something more informative, if there is not something more informative, nobody will touch the newspaper. So that's why, on one side, your commitment to certain principles, your ideological clarity, nationalist view, and on the other side, the challenge of the competition with the electronic media, with the news channels. So, accepting this challenge makes a newspaper in today's world something special, something commendable. That's why I congratulate Organiser's team for not only running, but being effective even today. Organiser, as I said, has definitely played a very important role and called a niche in the English media. But Organiser is also part and parcel of the people who belong to the nationalist thought movement. And as Balshankarji told in the previous session, it is really difficult when you are having governments of the same nationalist ideological family running a newspaper and being effective, relevant, and also not become a campaigner and publicity newspaper of the government. Be the voice of the society, be the voice of the people. So this balancing, the organizer is doing, I think, wonderfully well. Organizer has been a crusader of freedom of press. Organizer is a sentinel of nation's interest. It's a vanguard of national security. It's the voice of nation's soul. Organizer says it's the voice of nation. I'm only adding it's the voice of nation's soul. A bridge between the government and society, a conscience keeper of our society. Organizer has achieved much, but it can play more important role. Organizer, as a journal, as a weekly, it is doing its best. But at the same time, as I already told, creating new writers, young journalists, columnists, encouraging them, finding newer ideas, creating new features, making it acceptable, innovative. These are the things which a newspaper today has to address, and Organizer is doing it wonderfully well. That's why I congratulate the team of the Organizer. I wish the Organizer a bright future, more glory, all triumphs, and a meaningful and a contributory role in the nation's progress and national reconstruction. Thank you very much.